Hey, give you a little caveat up front. We're close to the top of the hour, but I wanted to go ahead and get started. So, in a couple of minutes, you may hear a clock chime, something like that. But I'll try and make sure it's not interfering with anything you're hearing me play. We talked in a previous video about an exercise playing on the 3, 4, 5 in DAA tuning. By the way, if you're in DAD, you can still do this. You would just play open 1 and 2. O, 1, 2, 1, O, up and back. But for DAA, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, 1. That's in a count of 3 and a count of 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, and 3, and 4. 1, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1. Okay? So we've already gone over that. So we don't need to rehash that other than just that quick review. What we're going to talk about now is dynamic control. Dynamics in music has to do with volume. So how do you make your instrument louder without having to plug it in? There are things you can do to make an instrument louder. Now there are artificial things you can do. If I really want to make noise, let me reach over here real quick, grab a couple of things that I did not think to get ahead of time, but they happen to be within reach. What a lot of people do to make instruments louder today is use possum board. I happen to have one that's the same shape as my Dulcimer, so it sort of fits underneath it. But even without one, there are things you can do to make an instrument louder, and it has to do with your pick. A couple of picks that I routinely use here. These are, they began their life as Fender 355s, those big triangular picks that every Dulcimer maker used to include with their new instruments. I've cut them in half, cleaned up the edge where it was cut, rounded it off where it feels a little more like the others, and on this one I've even applied rubber grip tape like you'd put on a tennis racket grip to give me a little tackier, firmer grip surface. So, alright. With the pick, either one of them, you can control your volume. When I start people off on this exercise, and we'll do the 3s for this video, I say, as a warm-up exercise, just play through it. 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, 1. Okay. Then, I'll tell them to make it loud. And the way you do this, with your pick, if you take a pick, whatever kind of pick you got, doesn't have to be one of these, any pick will do, grip it tight. Pinch it down nice and tight where it's firm, and hold it where it is perpendicular, straight up and down, perpendicular to the plane of the strings on the instrument. When the pick has to fight its way across those strings, that extra amount of force you're using is going to make the instrument louder. Now, just playing it like I would normally play, but if I grip that pick tight and hold it straight up and down, I get. Okay. Grip it tight, hold it straight up and down, relative to the plane of the strings. Now, then I'll tell them make it soft. We do kind of just the opposite with that. If you take this tightly gripped pick and just relax the grip, and that's where this grip tape on this one can come in handy, because you can relax your grip and still maintain full control of the pick. And if you relax the grip, even if you're holding it straight up and down, if you relax the grip and let the pick wobble, I call this the wobbly pick. When I want my students to play quietly, I'll tell them use your wobbly pick. And you let the pick wobble where it doesn't have to fight as hard to get across the strings. I'm still holding it straight up and down, but this is a tight grip. This is wobbly pick, just holding the pick lightly so it can give. Hold it tight, light. There's a distinct difference. I hope it's coming across in the audio on this. Then you can also, instead of letting your pick wobble, if you want to keep a good grip on it, turn your forearm and wrist so that your pick is coming across the strings at an angle. When you're going out, the point of the pick should point at you. On a backstroke, you turn your hand and let the pick point away from you on the way back. And by doing that, again, you're making it easier for the pick to get across the strings without having to fight, without as much force, and thereby you're making the instrument quieter. Straight up and down, held tight. Straight up and down, held lightly. Angled, but held firmly. Angled and held lightly. Wobbly and angled. Now my arm isn't doing much different. I'm not applying different amounts of force with my arm. My arm's still doing basically the same thing. It's just sort of a set it and forget it back and forth motion there. But simply by the way I grip this pick, I'm able to control volume. So I tell my students in a warm-up, just play. And then I tell them, play it quietly or play it loud. But in this case, quietly. Wobbly pick, angled. And then I'll tell them, play it loud. Stiff pick, straight up and down. And then, here's the fun one. As the final exercise in this set, I tell them, play the first beat of the measure loud and the rest of the measure quietly. And when you get good at this, you can set a rhythm and then use your stiff pick to play melody notes, and then use your wobbly pick to fill in all this nice stuff out behind the melody that's out front. So loud on the first beat, quiet on everything else. So there, a little bit of dynamic control, controlling the volume simply by the way you hold your pick and by the angle at which you allow that pick to hit the strings. Tight pick, stiff pick, straight pick, wobbly pick, and angled pick. All right, have fun.